Hello and welcome to the Dare to Differentiate module. This is the module you've all been asking us for, with ways to teach learners at different levels so you can reach all your students all the time. What does that mean? Let's take a closer look. What is differentiation? It's a set of teacher strategies designed to keep a student's needs at the center. It is about responsive teaching, which means starting where your students are instead of assuming that all learners in a class are the same. As teachers, we know that one size does not fit all. We also know that we need to cater to different styles and interests to reach every student and push them to their maximum potential. There are also many myths about differentiation, so let's look at what differentiation is not. It does not mean teaching each student individually, having separate lesson plans for each child, or increasing the quantity of work given to high performing students with a lower quantity of work given to low performing students. It is about increasing the quality and rigor of instruction so all students have a great learning experience in your classroom. Why should we differentiate? As you saw in the previous video, we need to ensure that all our students learn as much as possible since we have limited time with them. It also helps to increase student confidence and motivation by allowing them to experience more success. It decreases classroom management challenges that are caused by student boredom and frustration. These are also the reasons that differentiated instruction has been found particularly useful for students in vulnerable contexts, such as those having disabilities, those learning English as a second language, or the ones who are at risk of dropping out from formal schooling. There are three ways to differentiate. The first one is content or what we teach. The second is process or how we teach. And finally, the product, how students show that they have mastered the content or how they demonstrate mastery. Content, process, and product, or CPP for short. Let's take a closer look at what content differentiation means. I'd like to introduce all of you to Samir, a mad ASV who teaches grade 5 science. He has noticed that his 5 students Sita, Anand, Seema, Amit, and Ria are at vastly different levels in terms of their reading and writing, interests, and ability to engage in his lessons. Sita and Anand are reading and writing at grade level, while Seema sometimes needs help with bigger words and can catch up with her teacher's help. But Amit and Ria are far behind, struggling with spellings and often getting bored in his classes. Sometimes they get up and walk around because they don't understand anything. Samir doesn't know what to do. He cares about all his kids and really wants them to do well in their upcoming science unit test. He spent a long time making this lesson plan so he can teach them all the water cycle. Let's take a look at what he's done and the worksheets he's printed as well. You can see that in the end, all his students are expected to draw, label, and describe the 4 stages of the water cycle in order to be ready for their school unit test. Coming back to his classroom, we know that Samir has tried these type of lesson plans before. While doing the same type of plan for photosynthesis, he saw that Sita and Anand were paying attention and could do the worksheet, so they were happy. Seema did the worksheet too, although she couldn't answer a few questions, and she was fine with that. But Amit and Ria, who couldn't understand what Samir was talking about, grew bored and began playing and giggling. This distracted the entire class and got Samir wondering, how could he plan his content in a way that all his students could access it? Differentiating content. Content, as you'll remember, is what we teach to the students. It is the subject matter or the learning objectives. Some students may be ready for long division while others still need to learn their tables. So therefore, it's about not only what they need to learn, but also what they're ready to learn. You know what each student in your class is ready for, from their answers to your questions, from their performance in class quizzes, as well as the school exams. It is recommended that as you choose different objectives for different students, the objectives align to the same topic. For example, in the long division lesson, some students who are learning tables can also learn the concept of division, as this pushes them out of their comfort zone and helps them feel more successful as compared to their peers. Let's look at how Samir differentiated content in his classroom. He knew that there can be three big objectives for learning the water cycle. The simplest one is labeling a given water cycle, which is what Amit and Ria will do. The second one would be to draw and label the entire water cycle, which is something Seema can do. And finally, drawing, labeling, and describing the water cycle is the most complicated objective, which Sita and Anand, he knows, will be capable of doing. Samir went into his classroom with the differentiated objectives targeted to his different student levels. He first taught the water cycle to the entire class and then spent time with Amit and Ria, introducing them to the spellings of the labels. While they were happy and engaged for the first time, he noticed that Sita, Anand, and Seema finished their work with 100% mastery and they seemed bored. Once again, this got him thinking, and let's see how he solved for this at the next stage of process differentiation. But before we move out, let's go over what content differentiation means. Your quick takeaway should be that content differentiation includes different objectives for different students based on what they need and what they're ready for. But clearly, differentiating only content is not the best way to have an optimal learning classroom.